anything and everything.
Do you ever wonder how to? Do you ever wonder why?
About anything and everything. Then Doris is your guide. Anything and everything will open your mind. Anything and everything with Doris. Anything and everything with Doris is online. Remember. Anything and everything with Doris.
You are listening to Anything and Everything with Doris podcast. This episode is brought to you by WYSK Spark Radio, the spark of the South. Listen to hits from the 70s to now. Find it on Live 365 Spark Radio. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've been blessed. Keep that immune system up. Doing another impromptu today. As you know, I've been working on a case. It takes a lot of times. I'm going through a lot of emails so I can do a little more impromptus while I work on this case. Two things came to mind when I was reading a lot of your emails. Number one, essential workers. There's a lot going on. I think I'm going to start with that one. Essential workers. I even see it in social media. People joking about, for all you non-essentials out there, and yet it's all in jest. You gotta joke, right? People are joking about stuff like that. But when I hear stuff like that, like things go off in my head, the light bulb comes on, and I start thinking about that. That's really, if you think about it, it's an awful thing to say. So now we don't have to worry about employed and unemployed. Now we have to worry about, when you do go back to work, do you have an essential job or a non-essential job? And right now, if you're not working, it's probably considered a non-essential job. That's horrible. Because I'm going to tell you what I learned. I learned we are all essential workers. Every one of us. And the reason I say that is I see a lot of people complaining about their hair. I need my hair dyed. I need my hair cut. And then you hear people going off on them. Really? With all that's going on, that's what you're worried about, getting your hair done? Well, to a lot of people, that is essential. Because that's the one thing they do every month to treat themselves. For some people, it might be getting their nails done. I saw that. Like, oh no, I need a new manicure. Again, people beating up on them. Really? Yes. That's important to them. That's their treat. That's what they do once a month or maybe every other month to make themselves feel good. We all need a treat every now and then. So to some people, it's getting their hair done. To others, it might be getting their nails done. For me, and I haven't done this in a couple of years, but there was a time where every month, like clockwork, for probably 3 or 4 years, I would go get a massage at least once a month. And if things were a little bit more stressful, I would get one in the middle of the month. I like to end my month with a massage so that I could start my new month fresh. And if I was stressed out a little more, I would go in the middle of the month just to give me a pick-me-up. That was my treat. That's what I would do. That was important to me. And if I was depending on that today, well, guess what? They're considered non-essential workers. So I think what we're learning is that each and every one of us has an essential job. Especially after last week, remember the church debate? As a lot of people, they depend on going to church. That's important to them. And yes, you can worship and you can do it online, the radio, the TV, but it's not the same. I will admit that to you. It isn't the same. We need that. If worshiping is that important to you, being there in person, giving that high five or that hug, that was important. And it's still important because there's a big old debate about it out there. That's essential to people. So who is it that gets to say what's essential to people and what isn't? Because if you're going to tell me that there's an essential way of life, like you have to have food and you have to have a roof over your head, okay, that's great. If those are very essential, then how come not all of the restaurants are open? How come not all of the stores are open? Because it's essential that we have food and that we eat, correct? How come they're not all open? A lot of your mom and pop ones are not working, but your big corporations are out there working. So apparently it's really not that it's not essential, but there are some companies that are more important than others, and they get to decide not only what job is essential, but what companies get to be essential. A roof over your head, that's essential. And a lot of people, they have to work to have that roof over their head. So we fixed it, right? Here's how we fixed it. Okay, you landlords, guess what? You can't evict anybody right now. Well, that's all well and good for the landlords that all their properties are paid for. They're still going to hurt because they're probably paying for the water or something, right? I mean, they still have property taxes they're going to have to pay. There's still maintenance that has to go on. But those who still pay on those properties, are you going to guarantee them that they're not going to lose their business? You know, these are things that people are starting to think about what's really essential. Well, guess what? All of us are essential. Every one of us. Doesn't matter how much money we make or how big our company is. We're all essential. And while this may have started out as protecting the people, we're starting to all wonder about that. And I'm not even going to delve into it. I don't want to talk politics. I don't want to talk theories today. But we all are not ignorant. We all know something else is going on, and it's time. It's time to start getting us back to work. And I'm not saying do it all at one time, but it's really time. It really is. I don't think we need government telling us how to be safe or trying to force us to do it. So for everyone out there who's feeling like when this is all over, should I change my job so I can become an essential worker? Well, a lot of people that are doing hair and massages, they might not be able to show up at work to do it, but you know what they're doing? They're adapting to a different way of how to do things right now. And they're doing that by either having people come to their home or they go to their home. You know, it's probably just their regular clientele. So they're going to lose business on walk-ins, because I would be a walk-in. I don't do my hair very often. I just get it trimmed every now and then. So I'd be a walk-in. So I probably, if I needed to get my hair trimmed, I wouldn't be able to find somebody because I don't have a regular. But that's okay. I'll just let it grow a little bit longer. It's not a big deal. A massage. I see that a lot of masseuses are going to their regular customers. They're working. That's good. They're adapting, which leads me in to my next topic. I used to work in healthcare, and I worked with a lot of elderly people. And even before that, just like everybody else, I knew a lot of elderly people, right? But what impressed me is the ones that were in their 90s and even hundreds, 101, 102, 105, 107. They had a good mind. A very good mind. They could tell you things that happened to them when they were 5. And I'm talking in great detail. They could tell you the shirt, the dress they were wearing at the time of a party or an accident or any major event. Like, they had details. And they could even remember minor little things that we take for granted, you know? That's amazing. Because in the field that I worked in, I dealt with a lot of patients that had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So it's amazing to me to see somebody up there in age that has a great mind and they're walking on their own. They're not needing a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. They're able to get themselves out of bed. So I figured oh, there's a little secret to it, right? There has to be a secret. Yes, some of it's genetics. A lot of these people were growing up in a time where we didn't have to deal with a lot of processed foods. We didn't have poison in our products, so to speak. But they had to adapt because they have it now. They got to live with it now, right? What are you doing? I want that secret. And don't tell me genetics. There's got to be something more. So I would ask questions. I really wanted something tangible. I wanted these people to tell me, oh, well, I eat this every day and I don't eat this and I don't smoke and I don't drink and I never partied. And I just wanted a formula that I could emulate. I wanted to have an opportunity to watch my great-grandchildren maybe be born, right? I want to know, what is it you're doing? Well, it wasn't the diet. Some of them did smoke and they quit. Some of them quit because they realized they wanted to live a long life. And one of them quit because they wound up with COPD, but they were 96 years old. They were still getting breathing treatments. Of course, they quit smoking and they had to live on breathing treatment, every day. But they were still able to get up, drive a car, go to the store. I actually rode with this guy. He was 96 years old and his wife was 94. The only thing she was dealing with was she was going a little blind, but she could still see. She could see shapes and certain things. She just couldn't see the same like you and I do. He has COPD and he's driving the car and we're all going to the grocery store. And no, he didn't go slower than everybody else. He was right at the speed limit. And they got their own groceries. And she actually gave me a really cool recipe for fresh homemade apple pie. She had a little secret in it. It was amazing, the things I learned. And they were so in love. They had been together since they were 12 years old. I think they got married at maybe 18. And they were 94, 96. And they were still very much in love and still living a full life. What are they doing? What are these people doing? I want to know. So we've established that they have a higher power. They have a routine. No matter what, they get up in the morning. Even though they don't have to get up and go to work, they get up like they do. Because just getting up and having coffee and enjoying the paper and having a chat in the morning is important. So here's what they would do. They would get up in the morning, probably 5 or 6. She would make the bed as usual. They would have breakfast, read the paper. He would read the paper to her. Very sweet, very sweet. They would both do the laundry. They would both do the grocery shopping. They went to bed at the same time every night. They took care of themselves just like we all do. But for them, I think what helped them, not only did they have each other, but they had a close family. They only had one son, but they had a lot of nieces and nephews. And they were always getting dressed up during the week and going to a party. Either someone was getting married or having a birthday, and they were always invited. And they would look so nice, and they would go out dating, like a date in their 90s. And it was so amazing. So I think family, I think having active family, having some type of activity, keeping you going along with the routine, I found that to be very helpful. But not all of them had family, but they did stay active. They still had their routine. They might get up and just sit on the porch. You know the one thing they weren't doing? Even the ones that had TV, they weren't sitting around in the house all day watching TV. They were not doing that. They were going outside, even if it was just sitting on the porch. It's amazing to me. That's what they did. But one of the most important things I think they did, because they all had this in common as well, was adaptability. Now, some of these people saw the roaring 20s. They saw the Depression. They saw the world wars. They saw inventions, all kinds of inventions, and they had to adapt, even for work. Because a lot of times when these inventions came, some people lost their jobs and they had to learn how to readjust, how to adapt to the times. Because those who don't adapt, they either fall really ill, which we know if you get stressed out, it's how we get ill. It's how we get cancers and depression. It's how we get autoimmune diseases. So it was important to be able to adapt. And so then it got me to thinking, okay, so they had to learn to adapt. If you think about the depression, there were a lot of suicides back then. People didn't know what to do. They didn't know how they were going to get their money back. And back then they didn't have government aid. If you didn't work, you didn't have the money, you didn't eat. If you didn't have a garden, what were you going to do? There wasn't a food bank. There wasn't food stamps. There wasn't WIC. There wasn't HUD housing. So these people really had to find a way to adapt to be able to make it. Because if we think we've seen tough times, these people had it tougher. And yet look at how far they've come. And if you say, yeah, adaptability, not everybody can do it. Yeah, I think everybody could do it. You just have to think about it. Like 2008. In 2008, a lot of people lost their jobs, including my husband. Had good jobs and they lost them. And the companies that were fortunate enough that they could keep their people, they sure weren't going to hire new ones. So a lot of people didn't know what to do. Some people committed suicide. And then the government came up with, oh, well, we'll give you a stimulus. But the stimulus was only for those people that were working. It wasn't for those people that were on Social Security. It wasn't for those people that had their own business. It wasn't for anything like that. So we didn't even get a stimulus. But you know what? That year, a lot of people started their business. They started businesses, that things that they might have thought of doing but were afraid to do, and now they had to do it. And some people never thought of it because they thought they were going to be with their company for life, and they had to come up with something. And so for them, it was, well, if I start my own business, then nobody can fire me or lay me off again, right? So that's what we did. We started your own production. And even that had to adapt over time. I'm going to use us for an example because there's people out there saying, there's nothing I can do. I promise you, there's something you can do. Like, for instance, my husband used to do DJing on the side, off and on, his whole life. So he had DJ equipment. I worked in the entertainment myself. I worked on movie sets in front of the camera as well as behind the scenes. And I did photography. So what did we do? We decided to start a company where we could put all of our expertise together. And we started Your Own Production Incorporated. That's why when you go to our website, it's called YOPI Studio. So we put all of these expertise together. He had to cash out his 401k, and we got it going. And we were doing really well. We had people booking us left and right. We actually had to hire people to help us, which was a good thing, right? So we did that for a few years, and then it slowed down, and my husband was able to go back to work. But we still had the company. Even if it slowed down, there was a couple of years we didn't even do anything with the company other than pay the fees to keep it open, and that was it. But we knew that we'd probably do something with it later on. And so we kept it. And then as things progressed in our life, we just changed the format to where now we have a radio station, WYSK, Spark Radio. I write for various publications as well as YOPI Studio. And now I'm podcasting, which I didn't even know podcasting existed in 2008. And so now we're not going out to parties. We're not doing weddings and photography anymore. We've just switched it to more like a news media place now. And that's what I mean, adaptability. Now for people that say, well, I don't have those skills. There's something you can do. I know somebody who loved to take pictures. So she honed her skills to do better. And now she went from teaching. That's right, she used to teach. And now she has a full-time photography business, and she doesn't have a studio. She does it all on locations, making more money than she made before with something that, even though she wasn't ready to do it right away, but she loved photography. Now that's what she does all day long. Before, she used to have to go to work and teach children, which she enjoyed her children. It wasn't for her. She did it for a few years, probably like 10, 12 years. She loved it, but she loved photography more. And so now she doesn't work anymore. She has a career, but she doesn't call it work. Another lady I know, she could groom dogs. She loves animals and she grooms dogs, but she didn't have the funds to go rent a building and do it. But she could get her a van, made changes in the van so that she can come to you. She has a mobile dog grooming place. She can just stop in front of your house. You bring your dog out, she grooms them, and then you go back in your house. How cool is that? That, you know what I mean? Like, think about what it is you can do. What is it you can do? And it's not like you have to switch over. My friend with the photography, she can always go back and teach. She could do photography on the side if she wants. But right now, this is working for her and she loves it. But it's all about adaptability. You have to adapt to the times, especially right now. Our times are changing so much in so many different ways. You know, not just the virus, but even in what's needed in society, the types of jobs. There used to be a time where college was optional. You know, people could come out of school or not even graduate and still make millions. And then it evolved to where if you want a good job, you have to go to college. And I think a lot of society's still stuck on that right now. You know, it's like, well, if you want to have a nice life, you need a career, and the only way you're going to get hired is to go to college. But that's kind of fizzing out a little bit because now college isn't as affordable. Was it always expensive? Probably so. But now it's even more expensive than ever. That now, when these people come out of college, they're in so much debt that they gotta work probably 10, 15 years just to get to zero. So now college isn't looking that feasible. So, you know, people are adapting. They're like, well, what can I do where I don't need to spend this kind of money on an education, but I can still make a good life? So everything is changing right now. You just have to be able to adapt. Think of anything you like to do. You like parties? Do you love to plan parties? Do your friends come to you and ask you to help them plan their wedding or their birthdays? Maybe you could be a party planner. Do that. Do you like to cut grass? Do you like gardening? All these companies are popping up right now for delivery service. What do they have? Instacart, DoorDash. You have all these companies starting to pop up because people are stuck at home. And some of them have been around for a few years, but they weren't that popular because people could get out and do it themselves. But now it's booming because they're stuck home. You could do something like that instead of working for them. Or you could work for them on the side until you can get back. Or you could do it yourself. Or do something that they're not doing. Is there something that they won't deliver? Is there an errand that they won't run? Is there something that can differentiate you from them so that people need to call you? You know, it's just stuff like that. You know, we need to be adaptable. And I find that if you're adaptable, you'll always be essential to somebody. Although in my mind, every one of us are essential. I think we figured that out. And even the people that are considered essential, they might still be working, but their hours were cut. Even truck drivers. You're like, what? Truck drivers got cut? How did they get cut? How did their routes or their hours or however they're working, some have their own trucks. Some work for other people. How are they not working so much? Well, because not everybody is getting deliveries. The stores that can't open, the restaurants that can't open, the schools that aren't open, they're not getting deliveries. So even the truck drivers are losing money. We need to learn to figure things out and stop trying to depend on someone else to give us that handout or to tell us what to do. Because the people that are 100 years old, they didn't have someone giving them a handout. They didn't have to be told what to do. They just did it. They figured it out. So not only should us as adults learn to adapt, but we need to teach our children how to adapt. And there's no reason why we can't, because we have a lot of technology that you could Google anything you want to know. What can I do with my kids today? Watch comedies. Watch things that make you laugh. Laughter is the best medicine, right? Laugh. Have fun. Forget about the problems around you. Think of in the moment, live in the moment, and enjoy being together, because tomorrow's not promised. We don't know if we're going to be together tomorrow. And you're sort of kind of being forced to be together. Make the best of it. So I'm hoping that we've all learned something, because I sure did. I learned about being adaptable. I've learned about being essential. I think every one of us are needed. Every one of us. Just remember this. Whether you want to live a long life or not, we need to be adaptable, and we are all essential. Thank you for listening. God bless. And that's our show. Thanks for listening. And until we meet again, enjoy every day to its fullest. God bless. For comments or questions, you can reach us by email at yopi@post.com. Also, check us out on Twitter at Dorisi and our Facebook pages at Yopi Studio or Louisiana Entertainment Association. Anything and Everything with Doris is produced by Your Own Production Incorporated and comes out every week, so come on back. Feel free to add us to your favorite RSS feed and iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Pod, and our favorite, Podbean. All links are found in our show notes below.